All right. Welcome back to the More Than Outdoors podcast, the podcast that talks about the people, places, and passions that drive Maine's outdoor recreation economy. I'm Austin French.
I'm Sam Andrews.
And we have a very special guest today, Jenny Kordick from Maine Outdoor Brands. Tell the folks who you are, if they don't know who you are already.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here, sitting outdoors with you all. I don't know that I was expecting that, but it makes sense and it's on brand. So, my name's Jenny Kordick. I am Executive Director of Maine Outdoor Brands, which is an alliance of the outdoor product, service, and retail companies in the state of Maine. So we have almost 200 members, and I have the pleasure of getting to work with amazing people like yourselves and entrepreneurs, companies, folks all across the outdoor industry in the state of Maine.
Awesome. Maine's got so many cool things happening in the outdoors, and it's we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Like the level of connectivity between so many of the brands, I think, is really, really unique when we look at it from like an entire industry perspective. So one thing that we're always, I'm going to say always curious about our guests, but let's face it, you're the first guest on the podcast, so you're starting the trend. How did you end up in the outdoor rec world?
Yes, it's a long story, and I'll try to keep it short. But I actually grew up on a farm in Iowa, and grew up just being outdoors all the time. I didn't know that outdoor recreation was a thing. I grew up, I learned how to ride my bike on a gravel road because we lived on a gravel road, and it's kind of hilarious to me that now gravel biking is like a huge thing. Yeah, that's how I learned to ride my bike. But I really got my career, I've always had a passion for the outdoors, and strong connection to nature and the natural world. But I got my start in my career kind of more in the policy and advocacy space. So looking at how do you protect the outdoors and advance outdoor recreation and active lifestyles through more of that social and political lens. So I lived in DC for a number of years. I got burnt out of living in DC and eventually escaped to Maine with my now husband, who had connections here. And the job with Maine Outdoor Brands came up not too long after I had moved to Maine, and it was kind of this like perfect blend of some of the nonprofit management work, advocacy, organizing, communications, like all the things that I had done in my career, and brought it all together in this role.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome. You really can come from anywhere and miraculously find home in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
cool.
I feel like I've engaged with Maine Outdoor Brands and like met with you a long time ago just through my role at Teens to Trails and attending the Maine Outdoor Economy Summit.
Yeah.
And that's been like one of my favorite conferences in Maine because you get to just hang out with a bunch of people that love to do outdoor things. And one of my favorite things was in Bethel, we had the like excursions before the conference, and I got to mountain bike with a bunch of new people, and I'm a new mountain biker, so that was really neat. But so I know a lot about Maine Outdoor Brands just from like engaging with the events that you host, and then all of your team kind of engaging with our organization and us being a member. But for those who don't know anything about Maine Outdoor Brands and maybe want to engage with you all more, what could you tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Sometimes I describe Maine Outdoor Brands when we say MOB. So MOB as a chamber of commerce, but for the outdoor industry specifically. So we do a lot of business development work really to support our members, and that includes networking, collaborative marketing, advocacy, just information sharing, and education type events as well. And really our goal is to like grow and strengthen the outdoor recreation economy and do it through supporting the businesses and the organizations that are the backbone of our outdoor rec economy. And so, yeah, I think from a like general kind of consumer, somebody that is interested in the outdoors, lives in Maine or not, just wants to learn more about Maine brands, I think there's a few ways that people can engage, but the best way is just to support our members and support our brands. And that could look like buying gear from local brands. We have an incredible network of product manufacturers here in the state, from some of the biggest brands in the world, looking at LL Bean and Old Town Canoe, down to entrepreneurs that are 1 to 2 person companies that are just starting out. So there's a lot of ways to buy local and support brands there. And then we have an incredible network of experience providers too. So those are more the guides and outfitters, resorts, folks that are directly providing that outdoor recreation experience.
Mm-hmm. And is there a way to kind of find that information? I'm assuming I've done some dabbling on your website just like before this podcast to kind of see like how am I not already using this website, because there's a lot of it's a wealth of knowledge there. And I think that could be helpful too for the consumer, but then also for the brand.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the job board too, right?
Yeah, we have a job board. MaineOutdoorBrands.com. I might as well get the website plug in. It's one neat thing we just added actually this summer was a campaign we're calling Adventure Local, and it's all gear and guides for the great outdoors in Maine is what we're saying. So it's split up by season and by activity. So if you're into biking or boating or fishing, you can go onto our website and click that activity and look, who are the product makers in Maine that are connected to this outdoor rec activity that I love. Where can I actually hire a guide or go out with somebody to do this? It's a great way to discover what options we have here and directly support these businesses.
Yeah, that's awesome. Austin was showing me that, and I was thinking, how great is this resource? Because you can just kind of decide which path you want to go down and then have all these local support, this whole support network to get you out there and do the thing with the right gear.
Well, and I think it's also just it's such a cool part of the Maine culture, because coming from a state like New Jersey, who I'm sure there was some money that was invested in outdoor rec as a whole in the state, but it definitely wasn't part of the fabric of the state, and just being able to have that really strong sense of pride that I can recreate in the state with incredible businesses that call Maine home, and I think that ties into a lot of that connectivity piece of why so many of us in the industry really, we don't just look out for each other, but we're some of our biggest cheerleaders, because we all know that we survive because of each other, and we thrive because of the fact that we can collaborate in such really awesome ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely not a New Jersey outdoor brand.
Yeah.
You go for it, New Jersey.
Yeah.
They could try it, but we do have the network is incredible, and you're right. Everybody is really collaborative, and they do a lot of collaborations together, which is really neat to see. That's something that we encourage within the Maine Outdoor Brands community, and they're really excited about tying their business to the Maine brand as well, and letting it be known that they're a Maine company. And I think people just love going onto our website and even looking at wow, look at all these brands here, because it's true. You don't really know or recognize that we do have just this incredible network and wealth of companies here.
Totally.
And the state's so large, and they're all spread out, so to be able to see it in one place and recognize okay, this is right in my backyard, or this is up in Presque Isle or Southern Maine.
Yeah, we talk a lot about too how there's there's a really strong kind of local food movement, right? How do you support local food? Certainly, we look at the brewing industry a lot. The local beer movement obviously is huge too, and why can't we have a local gear movement, right? Just supporting these local outdoor companies, which so many of our residents and visitors obviously are here because of the outdoors.
Yep, they're drawn to Maine because of it.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of it, to go back to the Adventure Local campaign, there's so many things that even as a Maine resident, we don't even know exist, and being able to know about all of a sudden I'm going to do a trip somewhere way up north in Aroostook County, and there is that outfitter that maybe I wouldn't have found if I didn't have this type of resource. So it's like, yes, there's the tourism component of bringing folks to Maine and getting them to be able to like really engage with these Maine businesses, but it happens just as much within the state as well, you know.
And
so
highlighting communities like we were talking about before, like what are the really cool towns that we need to be highlighting in Maine that are doing the great work? And there's so many, like we're just listing them off, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think to that point, like when we talk about big things happening across the state and a lot of collaboration, you know, we've sort of foreshadowed a little bit about the outdoor rec economy roadmap, and everything that's involved in that, you know. But I think one thing I would be curious to kind of hear your perspective on is obviously you all at Maine Outdoor Brands played a pretty large role in getting that off the ground and in the planning phase and now going into implementation. Like where are those areas where you want to see Mob make the most impact, like when it comes to that plan? You know, are there specific things that you really have in mind?
Yeah, good question. I'll just maybe like take a couple steps back and like just talk about the origin of that plan, because it I think ties into kind of the future vision as well. When I started at Mob, it was around the same time that the Office of Outdoor Recreation started in Maine and was in place. And so that was actually the first kind of act of Maine Outdoor Brands, was to advocate at the state level to get an Office of Outdoor Recreation in place. And companies, you know, largely did that as volunteers and were successful in doing so. And Carol Annalette was hired as the first director. And both, you know, her office from the public sector side, Maine Outdoor Brands from the private sector side, we were both kind of given this charge to grow Maine's outdoor recreation economy. And the question was, how do we do it? Like, what does that actually look like? And so we started looking at other industries in the state, the seafood industry, the forest products industry in general. I think those are kind of the two big industries that a lot of people think of when they think of Maine. And the forest product side, they had actually gone through a moment of crisis, right, where a bunch of the mills were closing. They really needed to come together and look at how can they sustain and what does the future look like for their industry. And so they did a roadmap. It was called the Forest Opportunity Roadmap for Maine, and it involved a number of stakeholders across the state, and they got support of their congressional delegation and got this plan together, and it resulted in like quite a significant influx of funding and resources and attention to their industry. And there's been similar kind of roadmap efforts happen since then for other industries as well. There's the Sea Maine, which is the kind of seafood roadmap. There's offshore wind roadmap now. And so, you know, outdoor recreation is one of the biggest industries in Maine. Like, we needed our own roadmap. And so that was the impetus really for getting this going. And so it's a long-term plan, a long-term vision. And it's really the first time we've brought everything together with the business development, workforce side of things, with the need to actually preserve the resource. Like, all of us in the industry, right, rely on people having outdoor recreation experiences. And so we have to have places to hike, to bike, to paddle, and we need a healthy outdoors for this whole industry to exist. And we also need this next generation of people in our industry to work in it and to just be active outdoor enthusiasts. And so there's a big component too on connecting more young people with nature and thinking about how can we do a better job of that. So there's so many pieces of it, and it all fits together in this kind of beautiful way, and this, like, you know, bigger like vision that I think recognizes how broad the industry is and how it can like touch all aspects of the state.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think we noticed that a bunch. Like when we were in our one episode, we tried to just kind of put, for lack of a better term, like a definition around like what is actually the outdoor economy, right? And you start going through it, and you're like, there's so many different little intricacies that like businesses can find their niches in, and yet they're still tied into this big umbrella.
Yeah.
You know, which makes it amazing. But also, when you're building out these massive plans like this, how do you try to make sure that all of those pieces are like laid in the same jigsaw puzzle?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like the 4 goals, and then there are like 6 to 12 strategies under each goal,
Right.
which is awesome that I think that it was very well thought out, and there's so many different pieces of our outdoor recreation economy that were thought of, and how are we going to actually elevate what we already have going on. And I think what was exciting for me to see is like the work I'm doing, I'm looking at it through this strategic plan and thinking, oh my gosh, we're already hitting on so many of these, and we can just continue to do them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something through this podcast we want to learn from other people. What are they doing? And where do they see themselves fitting in this roadmap? And like, where are they going, and how are they going to grow? And with the support of this amazing network that Mob has, and beyond, like, how are we all going to support each other to be able to grow this economy? Because it's really exciting. And I think what we had talked about is this, like, we are kind of the lead in Maine. Like, we are kind of setting a precedent of what this looks like. Will you talk more about that? Like, I know you've traveled quite a bit around the U.S. to like talk about what we're doing in Maine, and yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. We have said that Maine is a national leader in this space,
Yes.
and we have the data to back it up. So you guys probably talked about that already. And 6th in the country in the value outdoor recreation adds to Maine's economy. And I do think, so that's amazing. But this, the reality of like how we're all working together is also something that is unique, and it's not happening in other states in the same way, where the public sector, the private sector, educational institutions are all kind of coming together to think about collectively, like, how can we move this industry and this economy forward, and recognizing that everybody is playing different roles and has to play different roles. And so I think that's another thing that's been unique to Maine. And we are a smaller state in terms of our people here, and it's a little bit easier, I think, for us all to work together. But that's been, to our benefit in creating this statewide vision.
Do you feel like that existed before, and then Mob came in and kind of like elevated it, or was it something that's really happened since that entity was created?
That's a good question. I think Mob and the Office of Outdoor Recreation, I'll give that the office credit too, because they've been a great advocate within state government for this, and specifically within economic development. I don't think people really have thought about outdoor recreation as economic and community development before Mob and before the office really started doing this work and talking about that quite a bit more. And that's been exciting to see. I think it isn't just tourism. It's not just like a leisure type thing. It's like, this is something that is creating jobs and is driving our economy, and it's something we should be investing more in.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too, because because of the fact that, like, you brought up the whole piece of, like, everybody understands, like, there's different roles we can play in this success. And I think what that does give us a massive advantage in is it also allows us to be really nimble, because you're not just relying on one person or one organization where, like, they have their strengths that they bring to the table, but then they have their areas where, like, they don't spend as much time in, right? And I mean, like, that, it's something I talk to my students all about, is like, figure out what you're really good at, lock in there, like, you're going to find different ways to develop those other things that you can do better as well. But like, if you can find those strengths and then figure out who the people are that you can surround yourself with that have those other skill sets, it totally unlocks your ability for growth. And I love seeing that across our entire state, because there's too many examples to possibly try to rattle off,
Right.
but it's awesome. And I think a lot of that, you see so much of that come together at MOES, which, lots of acronyms, the
Yep.
Maine Outdoor Economy Summit. And like, the fact that we could have, I think there was 450 people at the event last
Almost
year.
400, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to be able to bring that many people under the same roof who all sort of have this same common goal, even though their businesses might do completely different things. But like they're invested enough in this industry that they see value in coming to this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's also some shared challenges and opportunities that we can work on together too. And we thought about that a lot in the roadmap process. Like as we look out 10 years, like what are the things that we're going to be facing that we need to get ahead of, or that we need to be organized for to prepare for. This was also kind of right out of the pandemic, right? Where we saw like, oh my gosh, like this wave of people getting outdoors, which was amazing, but it was also challenging from a workforce perspective, from a supply chain perspective, impacts the resources. And so the swatting mosquitoes here as I go. And I think like that was really kind of a wake-up call for us to say, wow, okay, we want to be getting more people outdoors and we should be focusing on that, but we also have to be thinking about where are they going? Are they going to be safe outdoors? Like what is that what does the accessibility look like? And do we have a workforce that's going to be able to support this industry? And I think that's like the basis then for us in this mindset of going forward. We know, there's a lot of people moving to Maine now, and that presents opportunities and also challenges. We know climate change is a real threat to the state, and what does that look like for our industry? So, and Moe's is a great example of how we can all kind of come together and have some of these bigger picture conversations and with people bringing their perspective and ideas from different places.
Totally. I know one other thing, and I would love to hear some more about this, because I think you have one out so far. Forgive me if I've missed any new releases, but this whole day in the life campaign that you guys are starting to roll out. I love anything that's day in the life. Like I'm just a sucker for it. But like talk through that project a little bit, because I think from an awareness perspective, like that plays a really vital role. And I don't want that to get like overstepped by the big conference with the 40
totally.
The 400 people and all that stuff.
So Day on the Job is what we're calling it, and it's a campaign series that is aimed at showing behind the scenes of what it looks like to work in the outdoor industry. And one of the, I think, misconceptions is that the jobs in the outdoors are all very much outdoors, like leading kids into the wilderness, working on trails, and certainly like that's a big piece. Like
we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, like that's
everyone
our
thinks
jobs.
I just like play outside for my job, and I'm like, I'm actually behind the computer quite a bit.
Right. But there's obviously like incredible roles that are mostly indoors, but you're still helping drive outdoor recreation in some way, whether you're designing products or working in sales, even like engineering and manufacturing. Like there's some really neat roles that are all connected to the outdoors and have this kind of like base of being outdoor enthusiasts and understanding the outdoors is going to make you better at your job. So so we have a big kind of effort to just shine a spotlight on what it looks like to work in the outdoor industry, and the goal of that is to hopefully get more people, more kids and young people in particular interested in career opportunities. So we just did one of showcasing the marketing director at Mount Abram, who is behind her computer like doing the snow report, but then is able to go out on the mountain for some of the day and get some photos. And we have one coming up that is showcasing a boat builder from Sabre Yachts, which is in Maine, and a merchandiser from L. Bean. So a nice variety, but that's been a really fun campaign.
Awesome. I sorry to interrupt you. I was just gonna say, I think that it's so cool to have that, just because you had mentioned your experience was, I didn't know that outdoor recreation was an opportunity for an industry, that I could do this for a career. And I also didn't. Like I never had that. I didn't have an outdoor club at high school. I didn't know that there was a route for outdoor recreation where I could get paid to work outside. And so to be able to have that exposure through a video, which is like what we're all consuming all the time, right? Through social media. And I think that it would be a really helpful tool to just see like, oh, I could do something like this when you're thinking about what am I going to do in my future. And so I'm glad that you guys are working on that.
Yeah, definitely. And it all directs back to our job board where we have a list
Yes.
of job opportunities.
Yeah, and the
for
job
members,
board
too.
is such a good tool because for so many people, you're typing in Google like how outdoor jobs. Where I think I've talked to Brian about it, and he always raves like it's the most visited page on our website. Which like there's so many other good resources on there, but that clearly is a phenomenal resource for a lot of people who are looking for, and it's very diverse, different types of jobs. Anywhere from like working in a warehouse for an outdoor company to actually guiding or being a director or manager. So, I think that's an awesome tool, and I'm glad you guys are working on that as well.
I send a lot of my students just directly there. Just start there, because we also find like in the college setting, like from a job search perspective, like so much of it is like you need to find out how connected you can get or how closely you can get to a connection at those given organizations. Like it's all part of the game. And when it's on that job board, the chances that it is both A, still active, and B, that they haven't already filled the role is, I'm not going to say it's 100%, but it's definitely higher than like just going on to Indeed or LinkedIn or like one of those things. So like being able to just start somewhere where it's like you want to look at roles in this industry, just start here. Because
get some inspiration.
And because to your point, like the whole idea that like a job that exists in the outdoor rec industry isn't just the one where you're spending it outside. It's like not everybody wants to like start in the industry as a ski instructor like I did. Like that's fine. But like if you're super passionate about accounting, which like kudos to you if you are, but you still like going hiking or you like paddling, everyone needs an accountant or they need an accounting department. So like, why wouldn't you combine some of your other values that you have in life and make career choices based off of that, so it's like, it's just great to have a database that you can actually just start there.
Reliable resource for sure. Well, is there anything upcoming? I know January is a new date for Moe's.
Yes.
Which I'm excited about that. I did love Bethel and I loved the Thompson's Point spot, so there'll be a new location. Yep. But are there any mob events? I know you have like mob scene. I don't think we've talked about that yet, but anything else that we should share?
Yeah, we have a lot. A few things that I'm excited about. We are going to be launching a storefront on our website this fall.
Nice.
So a mob shop that's actually through Shopify Collective, and it's going to be linked to our member brands that sell on Shopify. So it'll be kind of a one-stop shop to see and actually buy local brands. So that's coming this fall. We have
before Christmas.
Yes, strategically timing that. And we have been working with a number of local retail stores around the state to actually do in-person versions of that with mob shops. So we have at REI in Westbrook, Maine Outfitters in Rockland and Rockport, and Nomads we just launched, where you can actually go into the store and you'll see a collective of companies that are from Maine. You can buy their stuff. There's signage about Maine Outdoor Brands. So that's a couple of our kind of just shop local initiatives,
that's awesome.
Yeah, which are really fun.
Marshall was telling me about that when we were like waiting to load the Morning in Maine boat, and
nice.
I loved that concept because it's like, I mean, for you all, I'm sure you're thinking about it from this way, but it's just like that's such a different version of brand exposure and like being able to actually put that storytelling in a physical space. Like it's one thing to like have it on your website and be like, hey, support these brands because XYZ, whatever. But being able to like see that power of like, we're all in this together and here's this branding that we're going after. Like it can exist in a retail store too.
Yeah. And it's dangerous because you walk up to it and you're like, I want all of these things. They're so well made. They're really cool colors. They're like thoughtful. It's just, I mean, I love that about REI. It's right when you walk in the doors and boom, you have all these Maine Outdoor Brands. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And that's such a like corporate company, and they're for them to kind of have that vision and work with you all. That's
That
great.
was actually a great story. And maybe you can get JR from REI on the podcast at some point. But
All you have to do is shamelessly plug it.
that was a pilot. We approached them and asked, could we hang up signage around the store to showcase what are the local brands, because it was kind of new to have REI come to Maine. It was just a few years ago that they opened the store there, and JR, the store manager, was like, yeah, let's do it, and took a shot on it, and we had the nice table and everything, and it was a big success. They picked up new brands that they hadn't heard of, and now they're actually replicating that at other stores around the country.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And with Maine or with the
local brands from
Good.
other states.
We're influencers. We're
Yeah.
starting trends. So great.
Yeah. Although I will say that if you go to North Conway, you'll find some Maine Outdoor Brands
Ooh,
signage over there.
okay.
So we're
Infiltrating.
starting to encroach.
Well, I feel like a lot of New Hampshire people love to adventure in Maine and vice versa. So I can speak to that as well. I was just driving through Franconia Notch, and I'm like, oh, I love it here. It's so beautiful. But I also love adventuring in Maine, obviously. It's such a beautiful spot. Well, we do like our rapid fire questions, which normally
We're
called...
very bad at rapid fire.
It's very bad, yeah. Because every time we just want to talk about each thing because it's really fun. But it's Voices from the Summit, and we're not quite at a summit today, but I think, what's the first question here?
Yeah.
Favorite trail snack when you're out in the Maine woods?
Peanut butter M&Ms.
I love that.
What's one piece of gear you couldn't live without?
Ooh, this right here, my Garmin. This is probably, I don't know if I should show this. Hopefully people are just listening, but you can
let's
see
see
the tan line.
Yeah, the tan lines are alive and well.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like a sense of pride. And then the Chaco tan, too.
Yes.
I also.
Yeah. And Garmin actually has a strong presence in Maine. So, it's a great company. They have a lot of people working in Yarmouth and doing like software engineering. Speaking of another job in the industry and sales there. So, yeah, I use my Garmin every day.
Me too. I always need to know the time, and I love tracking how many miles and
Definitely.
elevation, heart rate.
Yep.
Okay, describe the future of Maine's outdoor economy in just one word.
Potential?
I like that.
Potential. All right. I love that. I love that.
We were saying things like inspiring and what was your word?
Mine was unstoppable.
Ooh, okay, that's
I
good.
put unstoppable.
Nice.
But what about
This is the
this?
most rapid fire, I think.
Yeah, we are like
You're crushing
this. This one might take a little bit longer. What's a lesson from the outdoors that has shaped how you lead?
Wow, interesting. I'm very much I like to know where I'm going type of person, and I think that's relevant for the outdoors and also for leadership in my career in terms of kind of having that future vision. And so, yeah, and especially when you're out on a trip, right? Like, what's the goals? Where are you going? And then you can work backwards. Like, what do you need to get there? Make sure you're prepared. And similar, I think, in leadership and career, right? Like, where do you want to go? And how do you, like, working backwards, how do you get there?
Cool.
Yeah.
I think I've been thinking a lot about like risk management, and like I just recently had an experience in the woods where we had to evacuate somebody, and thinking about like when we were debriefing it all and thinking about it, we were like, what is the first thing that you do? And it's the planning and preparing. And so, well, like you said, it's like, okay, where do you want to go? And then how do you work up to that? How do you get there? And it's like the first thing to mitigate risk. And
Right.
And I think that in regular life, but also when you're in the outdoors. So I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
clearly have found like a lot of vision and found that like pathway. I mean, the strategic plan for the outdoor economy is a great example, but in other ways in your life it seems too. So
Yeah. Well, and I think anytime you're talking about leadership, it's like, it's one thing when you're making decisions for yourself. It's another decision when you have other players involved in that, and I mean, I'm sure both of you have felt this, but it's like when you're making decisions as a leader, you want to make sure that there's that level of buy-in from your team that like this has been thought out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this, like sure, there might be moments where like we're in a pinch and we got to pivot a little bit, and we got to figure something out right in the moment. But for a lot of those situations, like we've put in the time, we've put in the thought process, like the brainstorming has happened, and here's the path that we think is going to be the best forward. We're probably going to have to adjust it a little bit once we get some real data, but that all exists, and that all comes from the planning side.
and to get people to jump on board, like hopefully more outdoor brands jumping in because they know that there's this awesome plan to attach themselves to, or like seeing more of a future. I mean, I'm inspired by the outdoor economy roadmap, knowing like I'm staying in Maine and I'm staying in this industry, and I'm like really excited because I just can't wait to see what the next 10 years holds and where we're going to be. So last question. Well, who's a Maine-based outdoor leader or organization more people should know about?
This question is always so hard for
I
me
know.
because there's so many, and I just have the pleasure of getting to know so many people and come across these people all the time. And with Mob, I mean, we announce our new members every month, and I think that's a good place to look because oftentimes they are startups, or people just getting going, and they finally have their logo and their website up, and that's been really fun to just discover new brands that way. But one in particular, Brian, you mentioned Brian earlier. Brian's my colleague, our membership director at Mob, and Brian and I just did a site visit to Mayfly Landing Net Company, and the owner Josh is a veteran, and he was a woodworker and got into fly fishing, and he started making fishing nets in his garage. And they're incredible, they're beautiful, just like really high quality. It's taking a lot of just care and craftsmanship into it. And we have a lot of businesses in Mob that are like people like are in their garage or start in their basement or something. And so that's a series that I want to do at some point, is actually like showing the garage grown brands in Maine, because there's a lot of them. But Josh is one we came across recently, and he has just such a passion for what he's doing and for the outdoors in Maine, and for the work that like fly fishing can do for healing and for mental health as well, and how that plays into it, especially as a veteran. So that was somebody I was inspired by recently.
That's awesome. The wellness piece like just cannot be stated enough, I feel like. And like we obviously get it because of the work that we choose to do. So like when you're surrounded by it, it's almost impossible to not get some of that. But when you're not exposed to it, it's like it's hard to really fathom like what level of impact that can have on you. Especially for folks who are like coming from a lot of different really tough backgrounds, or serving in the military. You're going to a lot of different places and seeing a lot of different things, and just being able to have that like that mental reset and relief is like so valuable.
Absolutely.
We all get to experience it all the time in the outdoors.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why we love what we do.
Yeah. So
I'm so happy you were on our podcast.
yeah,
Thank you for being
thank
here.
you so much for coming on. We will make sure that all of the Maine Outdoor Brands tags get thrown in the description, and make sure, if you haven't already, follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. More Than Outdoors podcast. Stay tuned, because Jenny is the first of many guests that we have lined up for this awesome podcast, and just allowing more people to understand like what's actually happening in the outdoors in Maine. So thank you again for coming on, and for being a really great advocate for us up there in the state level.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.